Our lead story tonight, toxic air alert. It's a public health emergency in the national capital with the now annual air quality crisis kicking in. And this year, much ahead of the usual peak pollution season after Diwali. But essentially, the air quality index in the national capital is now in the severe category. In fact, in the upper levels of the severe category, the PM 2.5 pollutant or the toxic cancer-causing micropollutant is 70 times the upper limit set by the World Health Organization. Well, what the capital's kids are essentially breathing is nothing but poison. A cocktail of toxic gases which is affecting their lungs, their hearts and even their cognitive development. Well, how bad the situation actually is, in fact, the comparison that experts are increasingly now coming up with is that the concentration of the cancer-causing PM 2.5 pollutant is almost as if you are breathing, of course, toxic air, which means that you are puffing 40 cigarettes a day unknowingly. In fact, in the past 1 week, you have unknowingly smoked almost 200 cigarettes. The big question now, what about our right to healthy air? Year after year, our right to clean environment is being violated. In fact, just look at that comparison. From October the 15th to now, the 3rd of November, you're now smoking almost 40 cigarettes a day. This is a PM 2.5 levels, of course, now in emergency levels, almost 70 times the safe limit set by the World Health Organization. Well, you're talking about the deadly PM 2.5 and what it can do. Well, it can penetrate your lungs, cause long-term respiratory illnesses and even cancer. In fact, it can affect the lungs, the kidneys and also, your brain. In fact, the long-term impact of PM 2.5 pollutant is that it can hamper your cognitive development. Vishnu Shom has this report.
A cursory look outside the window if you live in the national capital region would have shown you a horrible low-hanging brown haze. In fact, per satellite images that we'll show you, and we've got the latest ones even just a few hours back, that haze extends across large parts of the Indo-Gangetic Delta now, an annual nightmare that causes unimaginable harm. It hurts the eyes, it makes it tough to breathe, ultimately adds to a reality that so many just don't want to accept, that you end up living at least 10 to 12 years less than you may have if you lived in an area with cleaner air. That's a fact. While the air quality in the capital spiked to the dark red or severe category in some parts, the real impact of the toxic air can be studied through the concentration of toxic micropollutants. In Delhi today, PM 2.5 in Srinivaspuri, an area with fairly high levels of pollution, touched 558. That's 37 times the upper limit set by the World Health Organization. At R.K. Puram, the PM 2.5 count was 589, which is 39 times the long-term safe limit, which essentially means it can cause chronic respiratory illnesses. At Knowledge Park in Noida, the PM 2.5 count was 570. That's nearly 38 times the safe limit. And in Gurgaon, the PM 2.5 count was at a whopping 658. That's nearly 43 times the safe limit. The lethal cancer-causing micropollutant PM 2.5 can penetrate the lungs, can cause long-term pulmonary diseases, even affect the heart, the kidney and the brain. So where is this all coming from? Multiple sources for sure, but satellite data doesn't lie. The farm fire situation in Punjab, agricultural stubble burning, an annual feature this time of the year, has galloped in the last 6 days. Let's show you what we mean. This is data which comes from NASA's Worldview satellite. It's updated just a couple of hours back. The red dots show farm fires. This is an image firstly of the 28th of October because I want to compare the old image with the new one. Government data indicates that on this date there were just 127 fires. On the 29th of October that went up to 1068. On the 30th it came down marginally. On the 31st of October that rose to 1389. It raced to 1921 fires on Wednesday. The number of fires appears to have increased on Thursday, that's yesterday. That actual number is yet to come in. There's been a 1,410% jump in farm fires in Punjab based on these stats. Another increasingly important point that must be discussed. NASA, by using more sensitive satellite-based sensors, appears to detect almost twice as many fire events in cases in Punjab than government data. The government of India's data. Is India getting the most accurate reading of farm fires in Punjab? on the basis of the sensors that it uses is a key question that must be asked. Meanwhile, across North India, even satellite imagery can pick up the haze that we've been speaking about. Let's show you today's image and compare that with a day when there is no real pollution. Here's a normal day, the 3rd of October, randomly picked. As you can see, it's all green. And this is what North India, including Punjab and large parts of Pakistan, look like right now. Let's compare the two images in a split screen. And let's now superimpose areas of farm fires into this image.
So, well, that is how bad the situation is. The health impact is really grave. Our kids and the elderly exposed to air that kills. But why have the government measures failed? Because crores of rupees have been spent on pollution measures, on solutions for the air quality crisis. But why have they failed? Here's a report. Believe it or not, this isn't a gas chamber. This is Delhi's Anand Vihar, one of the capital's busiest, most crowded and most polluted areas. Year after year, the air here turns poisonous in peak pollution season. But this year, the air quality has spiked to emergency levels even before Diwali. And the reason is this, a visible failure of the government's efforts. This smog tower, now covered in haze, has failed to clear the air even 5 years after it was built. This is among the 2 smog towers in Delhi, built at a staggering cost of nearly 30 crore rupees each, even though experts have said they are useless.
We just saw the recent disaster of the smog tower, this has been a failure.
A major chunk of the Delhi government's anti-pollution budget, nearly 75%, goes into corrective measures like anti-smog guns and water sprinklers rather than curbing the sources of pollution.
Larger actions that need to be taken over several years, including addressing sources like industrial pollution, addressing transport-related sources, and addressing significant dust control measures that need to be implemented over time.
The AAP governments in both Delhi and Punjab have also failed to put out farm fires, one of the most visible causes of North India's toxic air. Starting last year, the government has spent almost 70 lakh rupees each year on biodecomposers for farmers to sprinkle on standing paddy instead of burning the stubble to clear their farms. In fact, 20 crore rupees was used just to advertise the project. But farmers are reluctant to switch to this technology, which they say delays the cultivation of rabi crops like wheat, which need to be sown in winter. What they want are affordable crushing machines and funds for crops other than paddy.
ਸਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਸੁਣਵਾਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੱਲ ਕੱਢੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਗਰਾਊਂਡ ਤੋਂ ਕੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਮਜਬੂਰੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੀ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ
Over the years, the government has spent a huge sum of money on solutions that have failed and sadly will never work because sources of pollution remain intact. While the Delhi government says the centre needs to bring state governments together, the centre says the onus is on the AAP governments in Delhi and Punjab. But even as the political blame game continues, Delhi's vulnerable suffer. With lives at stake, the government must realize this is a public health emergency that needs round-the-year attention and not right in the middle of the now annual air quality crisis. Vedant Agarwal for NDTV. So, well, the capital exposed to poisonous air, and where does the buck really stop? Because the political blame game continues. The AAP governments continue to blame the centre. The centre, of course, says that the onus is on the state governments. In fact, Environment Minister Gopal Rai has now blamed other state governments. Listen in.
दिल्ली के चारों तरफ, एक तरफ उत्तर प्रदेश में भाजपा की सरकार है, दूसरी तरफ हरियाणा में भाजपा की सरकार है, केंद्र में भाजपा की सरकार है. तो हमने निवेदन किया है कि सभी लोगों से बात करके सबके सहयोग से मिल करके इस पर काम किया जाए. तो आज इन बिंदुओं पर हमने चर्चा की है. खास तौर से हमने निवेदन किया है कि इसके लिए सभी अधिकारियों को निर्देश जारी किया जाए कि वो सभी अधिकारी सरकार के साथ बाइकाट न करें, सभी अधिकारी मिल करके काम करें. क्योंकि इस तरह की बात आ रही है कि केंद्र सरकार के कहने पर कानून आया और कानून के बाद से केंद्र सरकार के इशारे पर ये सभी अधिकारी निष्क्रिय हो रहे हैं. अगर निष्क्रिय होंगे तो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एक चैलेंज है. आज हमने निवेदन किया है कि इसको आप सीरियसली लें और सबको डायरेक्शन दें कि वो सक्रिय हों.
So, well, year after year, similar scenes, who is really accountable? But moving now to the other big story, well, the Mahadev online betting case getting more murky. The Enforcement Directorate now claims that the promoters of the Mahadev app actually paid Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel. Of course, this comes after the Enforcement Directorate earlier seized about 500 crore rupees in cash in poll-bound Chhattisgarh. Of course, what makes it even more significant is that it comes just days ahead of crucial assembly polls. Arvind Gunasekar is now live with us in studio. So, Arvind, of course, a larger question now that perhaps the ED is also investigating is whether these funds were actually used as far as the Congress's poll campaigns are concerned.
Vedant, the Enforcement Directorate is currently investigating Mahadev betting online app in connection with the money laundering investigation. The investigation stems from several FIRs that have been registered both in the state of Chhattisgarh and also from Visakhapatnam. So, during the course of the investigation, acting on a specific intelligence, the Enforcement Directorate intercepted a person named Asim Das, and according to Enforcement Directorate, that this particular Asim Das was acting as a courier for Mahadev promoters, Mahadev betting online app promoters. So, according to the Enforcement Directorate, after intercepting him, the agency also seized almost 5 crore from his premises, and according to the Enforcement Directorate, this particular money of 5 crore, a cash of 5 crore, was given by the promoters of Mahadev betting app to be used in the Chhattisgarh Assembly elections for the ruling party. This is what the Enforcement Directorate has claimed in its statement. And also, very importantly, after questioning Asim Das and also looking into the forensic evidence, including his digital gadgets, including his mobile phone and others, the Enforcement Directorate says that the forensic evidence reveals that almost around 508 crore may have been paid to Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel, and the Enforcement Directorate also says this particular evidence that they have retrieved from the devices of Asim Das, this is subject to further investigation. So, the Enforcement Directorate case against Mahadev online betting app has currently moved from the promoters of Mahadev betting app, who are currently residing in UAE, to the Chief Minister's office of Chhattisgarh, and that's where the Enforcement Directorate says that this particular investigation has taken forward with the recent arrest or with the recent interception of this particular courier with the cash of over 5 crore, and also almost 14 crores have been seized from the bank accounts, allegedly Binami bank accounts of Mahadev app. And now the Enforcement Directorate sources say that based on this particular evidence, the agency will further investigate this matter.
Quite a damning allegation there by the probe agency. Thanks very much, Arvind, for joining us with all those details and the latest there. And this, of course, is something that will be raked up by the BJP as well. But what is really happening on the ground? Well, in Chhattisgarh, it's a battle of freebies in election-bound states, particularly Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. And the big question, can Modi's guarantees work? Well, in Chhattisgarh, Home Minister Amit Shah released the BJP's manifesto. And in a huge welfare outreach, the BJP has announced gas cylinders at subsidized rates, also a special Ram Lala Darshan for Chhattisgarh. But interestingly, Amit Shah had something significant to say about the caste census, seemingly a BJP's shift on the matter. Take a look.
छत्तीसगढ़ राज्य की स्थापना का उद्देश्य जो था वो एक प्रकार से विकास से महरूम रह गए ये पूरे क्षेत्र को एक नया राज्य बनाकर विकास की मुख्यधारा में सम्मिलित करना था.
So, well, the BJP in Chhattisgarh saying that it's open to the idea of a caste census. But moving now to what the Congress is saying. Well, the Congress has also made a string of welfare promises, though it's not released its manifesto yet. But bigwigs of the Congress are on the campaign trail, and they say the Congress is in everyone's heart and the party will return to power.
जो दवाखाने देखते हो, जो हॉस्पिटल्स देखते हो देहात में, जो बड़े इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज देखते हो, जो बड़े बड़े मेडिकल कॉलेज देखते हो, ये किसकी देन है? कांग्रेस की. और हमको पूछ रहे हो तुम क्या? अरे तुम 9 साल में क्या किए बताओ?
So, politics speaking there in Chhattisgarh. But moving now to Karnataka, the Congress split wide open. That's a big question after Siddaramaia's jibe, claiming that he will continue as Chief Minister for 5 years. In fact, Minister Priyank Kharge has now a rebuttal. He says that no one else matters and no one else's words matter except the high commands. And now DK Shivkumar has also hit back. Here's a report.
5 ವರ್ಷ ನಮ್ಮದೇ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ನಾನೀಗ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ನಾನೇ ಮುಂದುವರಿತೀನಿ.
Karnataka Chief Minister Siddaramaia's comments that he will complete a full term on Thursday led to a flurry of political reactions on Friday. All eyes were on DK Shivakumar, the Deputy Chief Minister who'd bargained for the top job after the Congress swept to power in the state. It's speculation that there was an arrangement of sharing the Chief Minister post with him mid-term that fueled reports of an internal rift in the Congress.
ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿ ಏನ್ ತೀರ್ಮಾನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇಬ್ರು ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ವಚನ ಸ್ವೀಕಾರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಯಾಕೆ ಸೃಷ್ಟಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ.
Siddaramaia's comments came against a backdrop of differences between his loyalist Satish Jankiholi and DK Shivakumar over the appointment of members, boards and corporations in Belagavi. Congress senior leaders claimed that all is well within the party and any decision on chief ministership has to be taken only by the High Command.
ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಡೆಲ್ಲಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಆ 4 ಜನ ಹೊರತುಪಡಿಸಿ ಯಾರು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೆಲೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ನಾಳೆ ನೀವೇ ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಎಸ್ ಅಂತೀನಿ.
Senior Congress leaders had also accused the BJP of launching operation to break the Congress.
There may be 5 or 6 chief ministers for the state. That is best because this type of groupism throughout the state I am not seeing anywhere.
While the Congress was looking at making Karnataka stand as the model state for the other states that are getting into election mode, these internal rifts seem to be working otherwise for the party prior to the Lok Sabha election. With camera person Govind, Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Well, fascinating there in Karnataka, but it's election season, and this time what's interesting is that parallel to all the politics, raids also going on by central agencies. In fact, the Enforcement Directorate conducted fresh searches in Polban, Rajasthan, including at the premises of a senior IAS officer as part of its money laundering investigation into the alleged Jal Jeevan Mission scam, which of course is a huge political flashpoint as well in Rajasthan. A total of 25 premises in the state capital Jaipur and Dausa are being searched.
देश में क्या हो रहा है? छापे पड़ रहे हैं ईडी के. तो टीडी दल आता नहीं आता पाकिस्तान से टीडी दल. वो टीडी दल की तरह आजकल ईडी दल आ रहा है हिंदुस्तान भर के अंदर. तमाम ध्यान जो है आर्थिक अपराधियों के लिए बनी एजेंसियां ये है, उसकी बजाय ध्यान जा रहा है पूरा पॉलिटिशियन के लोगों को डिस्टर्ब करना. सरकार ने गिराओ.
देखिए, अब जब पर्दा उठने लगता है पुराने कुकर्मों पर तब इस प्रकार का सवाल करते हैं. इसलिए ईडी की जो कार्रवाई है वो वैधानिकता लिए हुए हैं. अगर उसमें अवैधानिक कोई काम है तो निश्चित तौर पर उनको करना चाहिए.
So, well, it seems like it's a season of raids. This as the Income Tax Department also carried out searches at multiple locations in Tamil Nadu linked to the Minister of Public Works Department, E.V. Velu, the third cabinet member in the DMK government and fourth party leader to be under the scatter now. In fact, Velu is considered close to Chief Minister and DMK President M.K. Stalin and was food minister in the previous cabinet as well. This as the BJP in Tamil Nadu is of course hitting out at the DMK over what they call their corruption net.
நடக்கிறதுனா இப்போ திமுக பல்வேறு அணிகள் இருக்கு, காங்கிரஸ் பல்வேறு அணிகள் இருக்கு, மாணவர் அணி, இளைஞர் அணி, மருத்துவர் அணி அப்படின்னு. மாதிரி பாஜகவுடைய ஒரு அணிதான் வந்து ஐடி விங்கு, இந்த ஐடி அணி, அமலாக்கத்துறை, இங்கெல்லாம் வந்து பிஜேபியோட அணிகள். அவங்க அவங்களுடைய பணிகள் செஞ்சுட்டு இருக்காங்க. இதெல்லாம் சட்டப்படி சந்திப்போம். கடந்த ஒரு 2-3 மாதங்களாகவே அவங்களுடைய அந்த அணிகளுடைய செயல்பாடுகள் அதிகமா இருக்கு.
And well, moving away from politics, let's take a quick look at what's happening in the Supreme Court. Well, in the deadlock over Raghav Chadda's suspension case, the Supreme Court has suggested the way forward. In fact, the court has asked the AAP leader to tender an unconditional apology to the Rajya Sabha chairperson. In fact, Raghav Chadda, remember, was suspended from the Rajya Sabha earlier for what they called breach of privilege after 4 MPs alleged that that Raghav Chadda, in fact, had violated rules by naming them in a House panel without their consent. Meanwhile, the Chief Justice of India's filmy avatar, well, Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud said, I don't want this court to be a tariq pe tariq court, asking lawyers to seek adjournments only when absolutely necessary, emphasizing the importance of preventing the court from becoming associated with prolonged delays. Well, at his witty best, the CJI cited also statistics showing a significant number of adjournment requests lately in the past. And the other big story, well, 5 people have been arrested in Noida for supplying snakes allegedly and their venom at rave parties that were organized by social media personality Elvish Yadav, who's also been in the news for being the Big Boss winner. In fact, the 5 men have told the police that these parties were organized at various farmhouses in Delhi and its adjoining areas, and that Elvish Yadav uses snakes to shoot videos for YouTube and Instagram. He has denied the charges.
A police case in Uttar Pradesh's Noida against popular YouTuber and social media sensation Elvish Yadav over videos of parties like these that allegedly involved snakes and the consumption of their venom. The use of snake venom as a recreational drug is considered extremely dangerous and potentially life-threatening. The FIR in the case names 6 people including Yadav. 5 of them have been arrested, but the police has not taken Elvish into custody so far.
देखिए इसमें एनिमल वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन ऑफिसर के नाम से जो गौरव गुप्ता हैं लक्ष्मी नगर रहने वाले, उन्होंने एक FIR पंजीकृत कराई है कि उन्होंने एल्विश यादव से संपर्क किया था कि उन्हें सांपों की व्यवस्था करने के लिए, तो उन्होंने एक राहुल यादव नाम के व्यक्ति का नाम दिया था, जिससे उन्होंने संपर्क करके उनको बुलाया था और कहा था कि ये सांप को कपिस निकाल करके उसे रेव पार्टी यूज करते हैं। इस पर फॉरेस्ट की टीम और पुलिस टीम भी गई थी, जिसमें 5 लोग गिरफ्तार किए गए हैं। इसमें 9 सांप बरामद हुए हैं।
The arrests were made by the Noida police after it raided a rave party in Noida Sector 51 late last evening, following a complaint by an animal welfare NGO, PFA, run by BJP's Menika Gandhi. Ms. Gandhi has called for Elvish Yadav's immediate arrest.
He should go to jail, beta. This is a grade 1 crime, 7 years in jail. तो ये ट्रैप के लिए हमने उन्हीं को ही फ़ोन करके कहा कि हम पार्टी कर रहे हैं, आप अपने लोगों को भेजिए। तो 5 लोगों को भेजा स्नेक वेनम के साथ और सांपों के साथ, और ये सप्लाई करता है गुड़गांव में और नोएडा में।
Denying the charges, Elvish Yadav claimed that all the charges are fake and he's willing to cooperate with the police in this investigation. Elvish shot to fame after winning Big Boss OTT Season 2 earlier this year. He has 7.51 million subscribers on YouTube and 15.6 million followers on Instagram.
And finally, if you can't travel the world, what do you do with the empty pages of your passport? Well, a video on Twitter shows a passport being used as a personal phone directory. Take a look at this clip. So all sorts of creative minds on the internet. That's it from me on the news. Up next, India Global with Padmeshwar Baba.